There's one line you keep hearing from every side these days. Enough is enough. Welcome to Fourth Floor Post English, weekly menace of Pakistani politics. So, enough is this time's week. You hear it in press conferences, from ministers, from friendly anchors, journalists, from people who couldn't even win a union council seat on their own but are very confident, telling you the system has finally decided. Enough is enough. Now, simple question. Enough of what? Enough of Imran Khan? Enough of PTI? Enough of personal wishes? Or enough of a system that has trapped itself inside its own power games and now doesn't know how to climb back down? Because if we look at the actions instead of slogans, this doesn't look like a system that is confident. It looks like a system that is scared. Take this recent DG ISPR press conference. On paper, it was supposed to be show of strength. In reality, it exposed nerves. The language was emotional, angry, targeted directly at Imran Khan and PTI. That's not how an institution talks when it has clarity and control. That's how frightened humans speak. And that pitch is now very clear. This is not government versus opposition anymore. This is one versus one. One has all the power and one has people. The civilian government is just the backdrop. Parliament is a set. Opposition is a prop. This definitely shows one thing, that there is no confidence in civilian government by establishment. The fight is direct, establishment versus Khan. And that is exactly the fight Khan has always wanted. The establishment is now playing on Khan's pitch. And between a politician who has spent more than 2 years in a jail and still hasn't bent, and an institution not built for a long, messy political wars, whose nerves do you think hold longer? That's why this loud enough is enough sounds less like a doctrine and more like a frustration. On the other side, you have new political class Khan has created. They are not stupid. They understand corruption. They understand manipulation. They know who engineered which elections. But many of them see everything in pure black and white. Either total revolution or total betrayal. No gray. Politics doesn't work like that. If you want to change the system without blood, you still have to do politics. You have to create an environment. You have to accept that there are rules in the system, even if your job is to criticize and eventually reform those rules. Khuni inqilab is easy to talk about online. Living through one is a different story. That's why maybe PTI has to shift towards Gandhigiri now. Non-violent pressures, optics, silence, defiance that forces the other side to overreact. Look at these three sisters sitting outside the Adiala jail. Just to see their brother, no slogans, no stones, no chaos. Just an image. Yet, water cannons were thrown on them, sprayed on them. That one picture will haunt the people currently in power for years. And they know it. That's why they can't afford to let Chief Minister of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa sit there along with them. Because when the sitting CM says, if I can't meet a leader, you are sending a message that KP is not part of this country. That is a very hard sentence. Maybe you don't like the wording, but the bell it rings in KP is real, sir. And the system knows that too. So again, whose enough is this? If enough is enough, it was really aimed at PTI, we would have seen one of three things by now. A formal ban on PTI, a governor rules in KPK, and a brutal relocation or the isolation of Imran Khan. All three options have been floated, but none seems feasible. Yet what we saw is giving a punishment to the former DG ISI. Why? See, all these options which I spoke earlier carries the cost of system. They carry the cost that the system is not ready to pay. Ban PTI, and you can ban PTI. But then you don't remove the problem. You remove the safety valve. You push millions of people out of the mainstream politics. And basically, you tell them, find your own way to be heard, which they will. But the country may not like it too. Even no internationally sane country will accept this, banning a political party. Even if UK, USA have their own reasons to be quiet, EU will not. It's the only place where human rights still means human rights. Impose a governor rule, KPK, and you don't restore the order. You pour petrol on a province that already sits on Afghan border, which is burning hot right now. KPK carries the weight of war and militancy and is watching its elected leadership being publicly humiliated. And once you normalize governor's rule in one province, you know it never stays limited to one province. Shift Imran Khan into harsher, more isolated conditions, and you don't break his narrative. You make him more stronger. You hand him the martyr optics, and he doesn't even have to construct himself as a martyr. You will just give it to him if you shift him to other jail. After this UN rapporteur on inhuman conditions, that Khan is being kept in inhuman conditions. So instead of decisive actions, what do we see? We see delay, we see confusion, we see legal engineering. Suddenly, after all this, the Election Commission remembers that the barrister Goer is not technically the chairman of PTI. Suddenly, intra-party elections becomes national emergency. Again, why? Why is Jahangir Tareen roaming around? Why are there talks of Shammu Qureshi coming out? Because the only safe way is to break the party into pieces. PTI Pakistan here, PTI Adiala there. All while Imran Khan sits in jail, isolated, and cannot directly settle the confusion. First question was, after the 9 May, do you condemn 9 May? And those who did were given a free chit. Now it will be, do you accept the Khan's tweet and narrative? If you do, you are in jail. If you don't, you are a free pass. Now put the civilian ruling parties around this. One side is PMLN holding Islamabad but behaving as if it is trapped. You hear people like Talal Chaudhary, interior advisor, saying that PTI is blackmailing the establishment to come back into power. Blackmail. Really? At this moment, from a party whose leadership is in jail, whose workers are in cases. This is insecurity in the language of arrogance. On the other side, Pakistan People's Party. PPP is a part of setup, but it is clearly not fully on board with the most extreme ideas. Bilawal Bhutto has already said, softly but clearly, that there is no real need of yet another big amendment to the constitution right now. He says the big governor rule is not ideal. He says banning a party is not ideal. Every time he leaves a little door open, and that door leads straight to 28th Amendment. This isn't just about legal detailing. This 28th Amendment is a fight, a big one. NFC, water, minerals, agriculture, local governments, administrative units. In simple words, who really controls the resources in this country? The federation, the central government, or the provinces? So you cannot centralize all of that and at the same time pick fights with multiple provinces and expect the federation to hold smoothly. Pakistan People's Party knows this. Pakistan Muslim League Noon is acting like it doesn't, because they want the system to continue and they want the system to go into accident so that Maryam could be given a chance in future. The system wants this amendment because it wants a long-term structural lock, resources up, politics down. You can't take on KP and simultaneously open fronts somewhere else and expect it to work, especially Sindh. No system, no matter how strong they think it is, cannot fight two provinces at once, especially when this particular system is so jittery that a single tweet rattles it. So when Bilawal says no new amendment needed, and in the next breath suggests where there is a consensus, we can talk about new provinces there first. He's saying two things at once. One, no to full centralization package, but yes to map politics. A map politics in places like Hazara and South Punjab, in theory. Maryam will not agree to South Punjab, but if there is a chance that PTI could be broken by creating a Hazara province, then maybe Maryam would agree. But I still think PMLN would not agree for the South Punjab. But there is There you enter the next game when this idea is coming around. Hazara province. This is the temptation to redraw KPK. The idea is simple. You can't crush KP government or PTI easily. Fine. Try to cut the Pashtun belt. Use Hazara province as a political tool. Dent PTI in its own stronghold. Present it as a response to demand. Reward some, isolate others. On a whiteboard, it looks very clever. On the ground, this is how you create long-term identity fractures that no one can let manage. Especially when the same KPK is already carrying the anger of 9 May cases, jail politics, and their CM or the Chief Minister being blocked from meeting their most popular leader. And all this is happening while you're trying to reframe PTI itself. You're trying to rebrand PTI as a KP party, while its real black backbone is still in Punjab. The real resistance in Punjab is being crushed up or locked up. People like Shamud Qureshi, Yasmin Rashid Saiba, and others. While an artificial image is created that PTI is basically a KP phenomenon. Even in Punjabi conferences, you heard lines like, I am Punjabi, but I sat in Khan's cabinet close to Pakhtuns, as if Khan's cabinet was some overwhelmingly Pashtun project. In reality, the core of PTI's leadership has always been from Punjab. The reason to push this narrative that it is a KP party is simple. If you can box PTI into one province in the public mind, it becomes easier to justify and target the crackdowns there. The rest of the country can be told, this is just a regional problem. It's not about you. All of this is on the political board. Now add this recent court-martial of Faiz Hameed to it. A former DG ISI sentenced to 14 years under the Official Secrets Act, under political manipulation. On paper, this is sold as a self-accountability. In practice, everyone understands the messaging. Faisal Wavda was on record earlier saying that he didn't want a death sentence. He wanted a 14 years. Exactly that appears. Bilawal calls Faiz a pharaoh, forgetting that the same pharaoh kept Pakistan People's Party government safe in Sindh under the Khan leadership when Khan was in center. Noon League supporters celebrate as if an old loan has been repaid to Nawaz Sharif. Inside the institution, the signal is clear. Never cross the number 1 again. Outside, the signal is accountability follows politics, not principles. And the statement that the political agitation cases will be dealt separately with a clear wink towards no man shows you exactly how they want to use this. The military side says, we have done our part. The civilian side is being lined up to carry out the next step. Connect Faiz Hameed to 9th May and connect 9th May to Imran Khan and then push for harder sentences. The problem for them is, once you open these kind of floodgates, time changes everything, sir. Today you jail one former DG ISI to send a message. Tomorrow, someone else will have the files, the statements, the precedents, and the same logic can be turned around. This is not reform, this is warning. Now overlay all this with the international board. You already have IMF corruption report that has exposed more than any opposition speech. You have GSP Plus sitting over your head. You have European diplomats literally entering courtrooms in cases like Pekka and Iman Mazari to listen to how the state uses its own laws. EU has previously pushed back against party bans. It will do it again. And yet, you demarch that ambassador. And no foreign office will be able to justify that demarch because diplomats do attend court proceedings all over the world. See, we all understand that America is the main component when it comes to pulling political strings in Pakistan. But we are doing defense deals there, buying F-16 parts, while we all know that it was Chinese jet agencies who shot down Rafales. And we are poor, but we will still be needing the F-16 parts, no? You have both US and China interested in Balochistan, while Balochistan is already a military zone with known foreign penetration, especially India. And India will always have good relationships with America. Don't forget that. See, you have Afghanistan as a permanent pressure point, which the US can always try to weaponize against China's growth. And that is exactly what they are seeing right now. Pakistan is a strategic partner because Pakistan can weaponize Afghanistan, weaponize terrorism, weaponize everything to stop the Chinese growth. And also the Gaza troops. Yeah. Now imagine KP and Balochistan ignited together in this context, among this context. So be honest. who actually believes that the full all-out party ban, extreme isolation, governor rule, treason cases, even hanging sentences, and then sending troops to Gaza, and then 28th Amendment, centralization, is realistically sustainable? This is why if you strip away the rhetoric, you don't see a grand strategy. You see ego, fear, and delay. Ego, when enough is used as a personal slogan, not as a national limit. Fear, when nobody is willing to execute the very options they threaten every day. Delay, when every move is about buying one more week, one more rumor, one more session, one more notification. And meanwhile, politics is quietly trying to re-enter through another door, Tehreek-e-Tahfuz-e-Ain Pakistan. If PTI fully nests under the TTAP banner, if People's Party is pulled towards that national conference of Tehreek-e-Tahfuz-e-Ain Pakistan, if Maulana Fazlur Rahman even partially joins that umbrella, then the fight shifts from jail gates and press conferences back to negotiations under one frame. The system needs this. Understand, the system in Pakistan needs this. But the personal wishes fears this. It needs be, because permanent confrontation is not sustainable, sir. It fears it because real dialogue means accepting the political weight of people it has spent 2 years trying to erase. For PTI, the line which is laid out is simple. Decide the aim. If the aim is just to get Imran Khan out of the jail, that is one path. If the aim is to drop the entire existing system to the ground, that is a very different path. For the country, the question is simpler. When you say enough is enough, are you talking about PTI? Are you talking about Imran Khan? Or are you finally talking about this style of rule, this style of governance, of press conferences, legal engineering, personal vendettas, and permanent improvisations? Because one thing is guaranteed, sir. The vacuum will not stay empty. If you keep pushing mainstream politics out, something else will move in, angrier, less controlled, and less interested in compromise. And when that happens, nobody will be asking, what did PTI do wrong? The question will be, what did system refuse to understand? I'll rephrase it again. What did the system refuse to understand, even when everything was right in front of it? That is the real enough is enough. This country is quietly moving towards.